Hey trackies, welcome back to another video here on TXT Track Time. Please remember to like the video and also subscribe to the channel. At this point, I'm sitting back and I'm watching sequence of events and I'm thinking to myself, did Noah lie? Because honestly, how? That's the question that is swirling in my brain. How, given the current sequence of events that have been transpiring since Noah Lyles did confirm that he had won COVID via USA Track and Field when they made that announcement after the 200-meter finals for the men. Well, if y'all don't know what's happening, let me pull things up a bit. So y'all know Noah Lyles incredibly walked away with the 100-meter gold medal at the Paris Olympic Games. And, he was talking his talk that, hey, he's going to leave everybody depressed when he comes off the curve for that 200-meter final because he's going to be leaving them in his dust. Well, a few persons were saying, given the amount of attention that Noah Lyles paid to that 100 meters, right, this season, that is in 2024, his 200 meters will not be as strong. What we saw after? What did we see after the men's 100-meter finals? Well, Noah Lyles seemingly wearing masks consistently, indicating that all was not well with Noah Lyles. And given the fact that, there are a few Jamaicans as well that had fallen ill at these games, the Paris Olympic Games, then yeah, many were led to believe, including myself, that, hey, all is not well with Noah Lyles. Now, after the men's 200-meter finals, he eventually placed third in that race and he was pretty much down on the track, looking like he was, out of it completely. And then it was announced by USA Track and Field that, hey, Noah Lyles pretty much fought his hardest in this particular moment, given his current circumstances. He is C19 positive. He tested positive a few days ago, but he still wanted to come out and run. Now, a lot of people started to say like that, and we were like, okay, we understand being sick, but what was that entrance about? Noah Lyles was jumping all over the place. He stopped short of literally flying off. That is pretty much how he was behaving when he was introduced for the men's 200-meter finals. So, right then and there, many people were side eyeing Noah Lyles and say, hey, Noah, we know your name is Lyles. Did you lie? Is this a lie at this particular moment? Right? Anyway, so for me personally, track is, I was like, I'm not sure how to even rate this situation right now. Let me just continue to watch and see, because honestly, you know what I mean? He had many of us fooled if this turned out to not be the case. Well, track is, the sequence of events have really, flipped this against Noah 100%. Then on August 10th, Noah Lyles posted something quite interesting to his Twitter. He said, thank God I am COVID free. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. What is going on here? He's COVID free now. Now, let's, try to, rewind a bit and see exactly what transpired here with a Noah Lyles. So the men's 200-meter finals was on the 8th. So that's 2 days out of the 8th. He has come out and announced that he's now COVID free. Yeah, that is what Noah has said. And then if we go back to the 8th, the USA Track and Field account that announced that he tested positive for COVID, I believe also announced it that it was 2 days prior. So let's take that back to probably the 6th. Yeah. So Noah has contracted it, the 6th. It was announced on the 8th, and then he was COVID free on the 10th. I'm like, something ain't right here at all. This turnaround time for contracting COVID and getting over COVID is ridiculously fast. It says that it takes between a week and 2 weeks for you to recover fully from C19. By my count, that is 4 days. And if we're really pushing it, because maybe he didn't know exactly when he contracted it, if we're really pushing it, then we may get roughly 6 days. How convenient it is for Noah to exactly be recovered right on almost the 1 week mark. So I'm like, okay, fine. All right. I'm watching everybody react. So, Noah's making this particular tweet online about him being, COVID-19 free. And then he also made a follow-up tweet. And I'm not sure if this is, before or after, since I'm trying to locate the tweet now and I can't find it. So he did make a tweet indicating why, he did the entrance to the men's 200 meters the way he did. He said he had to do that in order to pump himself up, to give himself energy to compete in the 200 meters. Otherwise, he would have not had any energy at all, to compete over the men's 200 meters. So that is pretty much what he had to say there. So we fast forward again to, Noah Lyles coming out seemingly on the 12th of August. This is Noah Lyles on the 12th of August, dropping it like it's hot in the club. Should I have said dropping it like it's hot? Child, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. But anyway, he's out here partying it up in the club. So we go from the 6th, COVID positive, to the 8th, it being announced, he finishing third in the men's 200-meter finals. So the 10th, it's gone magically. And the 12th, he's partying it up in the club like crazy. At this particular point, there is no way that I don't know who can defend No Lyles in this particular instance based on this sequence of events in terms of how this entire thing transpired, from going to having COVID to competing in the men's 200 meters to getting home and not having COVID to partying it up. At this particular point, it definitely seems as though Noah lied, right? And it's one of the wildest things, I have witnessed in recent times, with athletes, coming out and saying the wildest things. And at this particular point, their actions show you otherwise, because that is important. The actions show something completely different. The words say one thing, but the actions say another thing. And that's what doesn't match. And that's what people are having a problem with. And that is why people are saying that Noah Lyles lied at this particular point, because there is no way you go from having COVID, entering a 200 meters the way you did introduction. You said, okay, fine. All right. So you needed to give yourself that short burst of energy. Yeah, that adrenaline rush for that 200-meter finals. Okay. All right, fine. It was announced afterwards that, yeah, you had COVID. And then we literally moved from having COVID to not having COVID to partying up in a club just a few days later. So now I want to know y'all's thoughts based on this particular sequence of events. Did Noah lie at this particular point? Right now, I'm very much confused because everything seemingly is living on the edge. There's a plausible reason for every single thing that he did. I mean, when you think about the fact that he said he's pumping himself up for that 200-meter finals, makes sense. Needs that short burst of an adrenaline so that he can compete. And then he was literally laid out flat on his back. You know what I mean? All right, makes sense. Then when you think about when the COVID announcement was made, also on the 8th, and then you date it back a few days, then you go all the way to the 10th, that is pretty much cutting it right onto possibly when he contracted, COVID. So that's pretty much almost a week, you would say, right? So again, there's a plausible explanation for that as well, which would then lead him into, partying it crazy after he is no longer ill. But anyway, as I said, it seems very, very interesting and weird to me. And as I said, not many are believing this COVID story at this particular point. Most people are thinking it's an excuse, and especially given the fact that there were actually a few people that did say that, hey, Noah Lyles, even though he ran a personal best in that 100 meters, was not going to be competing as good as he thought potentially over the two, because he did not one, pay much attention in 2024. Plus, also, when you run that PB in an event, it takes a lot out of you to come back and compete again for 3 rounds in another event and also do well, right? So that was the concern right there. Now I know Let's See Little Boga literally did the same thing, you know what I mean? Because he PB'd in the 1 and also in the 2. And of course, you saw what he did on those 4x4 legs. So as I said, there's an explanation for pretty much everything in terms of the sequence of events that Noah Lyles went through, leading up to the 200-meter finals and thereafter. But I won't lie, it looks like he lied. Let me know your thoughts. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.